Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Here you'll go from making ends meet behind a keyboard to living in true freedom by using real estate well, never having to work a full-time job, report to a manager, or give your adult life to a corporation that probably doesn't care about you. We will give you everything you need for your journey: techniques, principles, real-world experience, and application, filtered through 5 key power principles from my book, People Power, Other People's Money, How to Win, Enjoy, and Reserve. Get ready to take notes. Let's jump into From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Here you'll learn how to go from living behind a keyboard to doing real estate, whether you want to be more part-time or passive or full-time in investing and generate a fund like we both have, or syndicators. I want to go ahead and introduce my guest, Matthew Kontoff. Matt has invested in over 800 units in the multifamily space and continues to search out winning investments. He founded Red Wing Capital as a way to provide smarter real estate investments for passive investors looking for stable returns typically earned from multifamily apartment syndications. Matt has managed his own rental portfolio for over 30 years while working full-time as a software engineer, but he recently left in 2020. He has active experience in the real estate world in day-to-day operations, as well as overseeing renovations. In his spare time, Matt volunteers at his synagogue in various operations and fundraising roles. Matt, welcome, and could you give us a quick 75-second introduction of yourself?
Okay, ready? Yes. Thanks, Ivan. Thanks for that intro. That was a well-written bio. Oh, I wrote that. I'm actually a recovering software engineer. I did that for a long time, but I did the real estate thing on the side since the late 80s. Now I'm aging myself. My dad and I went in on a fourplex together in Boulder, Colorado. He put up the cash and I managed it. And that was my introduction into multifamily. And I managed that for a few years, then moved away and hired a property manager. So that was my first experience as an asset manager. I didn't know the term at the time, but I guess that's what it is called today.
Okay.
Fast forward, I moved from that back to Massachusetts, where I'm from, and bought a duplex in Acton, another duplex. I own a couple of Airbnb properties in Vermont, and about 3.5 years ago, decided to go full-time on the multifamily syndication track. So I started investing as a limited partner in a bunch of projects, and then finally got in as a general partner on a property in Columbus, Ohio. I really like Columbus. Okay. And right now I am focused on developing a hotel in Bali, Indonesia, of all places.
Wow.
And so, we can get into how that started. And that's basically it.
Okay. Sounds good. I hope that was 75 seconds. I can't afford a timer. It's too expensive. Stopwatches,
All right. Well, what's your address? I'll mail you one.
So cool. Yeah. First, I'm curious about your background here. So where did the Red Wing Capital name start?
Oh, good question. Red Wing Road was the road my grandfather retired on. And he was a doctor. He was a urologist out of Tufts, and he was able to retire from being a doctor. And he actually set up his garage to be a woodworking shop. And as a kid, he and I built some shelves together. And I actually have his bandsaw from that shop. And this thing weighs like 300 pounds. You do not want to drop this on your foot. It's massive. Yeah, it still works.
Okay. Hey, I got some shelves in my garage I need put up. So you mind just swinging by after this?
Oh, sure, no problem. I'll be over in 10.
Okay. Yeah, you just take a super flight.
Yeah.
So you naturally brought us into people power. There's all sorts of ways that people help us, and it sounds like your grandfather was a person in your life. What are some people that kind of inspired you to do different, do greater, do bigger things?
Wow. Well, my dad was in real estate. Interestingly, he built 250 single-family homes in the Boston area. Wow. He built a couple apartment buildings. He owned a shopping center. and he was able to retire at age 42. Now, I don't know how old you are, but that's way younger than I am now. So he retired at age 42, and as my aunt says, 2 years behind schedule. And then he moved to Vermont, and he built a house up here, which is where I'm at now, and retired here.
Okay.
So I mean, to his credit, he's gently nudged me into the real estate thing. I had a degree in computer science, so I did that, but he was not really pushy to get me into real estate. But along the way, I did some studying and joined some meetups, and learned on my own, on my own
Okay.
terms.
What was their turning point?
I think the big turning point was when he and I went in on a fourplex together in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was living in Denver at the time, and he put up the deposit, and we owned it 50-50. I managed it and held on to it for a few years, and sold it for profit. And I wish I still held on to it. This was a fourplex near the center of Boulder, Colorado, and it's still there. It'd be paid off by now, but
You ever look back and see how much it's worth?
I don't want to know. A lot, I'm sure. Yeah, the house in Denver that we lived in is worth 100 times more than we paid for it, easily.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. We paid 126 for it. We sold it to someone. I think they renovated it and built a second level, but it's worth like 1.7 million now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
mm-hmm.
What a lot of
Buy and
people
hold.
don't understand is that since the 1940s, real estate has always been in an upward trajectory. Even though there may be some downward shifts temporarily, it always comes back.
Yep.
And a big part of that is, real estate for us. We have, in comparison to other countries, we have a lot of private property protection laws.
Mm-hmm.
So our real estate inherently is going up by that because, we could have quiet, peaceful ownership, basically.
Yeah, and there's incentives, legal incentives for folks to buy and hold real estate and to build, multifamily properties.
Yeah.
There's the depreciation and accelerated depreciation and stuff.
Yeah. People don't know that there's some countries that just don't outright allow you to own anything. Like I was surprised when I visited Israel with the wifey last year. You can't own major swaths of the city, if not all of it. And that's a whole separate conversation because I understand why they do it too. But in terms of people power, let's accelerate the timeline to 2020. What was the turning point for you then to decide to leave your tech job?
Well, it wasn't really my decision, but it was my decision not to follow up and get another tech job. I'd been going to a meetup in Newton, Mass, where it's a multifamily meetup. It was quite a vibrant community. Still is. I still go, and met a guy who was doing the multifamily thing. And I learned a lot from him. I invested with him in my first deal in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And that turned out to be a huge success. So he's always been a good resource for advice and information and guidance. And I want to be like him. He's crushing it. He really is.
Oh, okay. So what did you mean by it was kind of nudged upon you to leave?
Oh, I got laid off. We
Oh, you
were
got laid
working
off.
on I was working on a project for a device that we were actually purchasing from third-party vendors. And we decided if we can build our own, we'll build it cheaper, or the vendors will lower their prices. And the vendors lowered their prices. So the project got canceled.
Okay.
So a bunch of us got laid off.
Yeah. That's another thing I bring up in terms of corporate tech world, but not just the tech world. Like the corporations in general are built nowadays, sadly, to protect the shareholders, to protect the 1% increase in share price a year. And they'll do whatever it takes to get there, including not caring about you.
Yeah,
And
right.
to some regard, that's like respectful if it's like a corporation that just can't be sustained. But there are corporations that just do layoffs just to do layoffs and have a bottom line increase.
Yeah.
I remember at least 50 years ago that wasn't necessarily the case. They would look out for their people and figure out new products and services to make up the bottom line.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so the shareholders of a corporation are similar to your syndicators. I mean, you're really doing your syndication job and managing the property for your syndicators. And when you're successful, they see that and they come back and reinvest with you on the next project. So
mhm.
it's similar in that regard. But there's and changes in the business. You might change out a property manager, but by and large, the rest is less volatile than swapping out employees or getting contractors in or whatever. But yeah, very similar.
Yeah. And the higher up in the rungs you get, it seems to be more volatile. Like I knew a guy, an executive that made 400 grand a year, and he got let go, I think like 4 years ago. And since then, he hasn't been able to find anything similar in terms of his executive role. So it's another reason why it's great to diversify.
Hmm.
Great to have people power networking all the time to see what your next move is in case something hits you like a ton of bricks. Like
Yeah, yeah. Not my. That's yeah. The whole networking all the time thing is not my forte.
oh yeah,
Unfortunately, it's a work in progress.
yeah.
I'm
I,
posting on LinkedIn more and connecting with people more that way and getting on more podcasts. So yeah,
yeah. What's your frequency going to that multifamily meeting you mentioned?
they have a meeting every month, so
Okay.
I go once a month.
Oh, what are you talking about? You're not doing great at networking. You're going once a month. That's more than 90% of the population.
I guess. Oh, there's some people that go to multiple meetings a week.
Oh yeah. Those are like networking addicts.
Either that or they just don't have enough work to do. And I'm not judging. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, networking is definitely important.
Yeah.
Keeping
For
those
me,
connections.
it's
Yeah.
maybe 1 to 3 times a quarter. So
Hmm.
you actually got me beat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, I mean, you sound like kind of like me, a little bit of an introvert, former engineer, techie kind of person.
oh no, I love being around people.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like you said, time, different things, um, different variables too. Like for example, one of the meetings I go to is actually my own. I set up
Okay. Okay.
I had 5 events this year. So
Oh,
those by
great. Good for
themselves,
you.
yeah, thank you. Those by themselves take quite a bit of energy. So that's also why the quantity shift down
Hmm.
this year. Um, so let me ask you this, especially for beginners. What do you say to somebody that maybe doesn't have anything to offer and just wants to attend meetings? Like maybe they don't have a deal to buy or sell. They just want to attend just to network and meet people.
Keep learning. There's some boot camps that are super cheap and virtual that you can do. That's how I got started. During COVID, there was, just for a weekend, just sit in front of the computer and get a fire hose of data, and some really good materials as well. And then learn about the whole syndication process and find your niche and what you want to invest in and keep networking and
Yeah.
build your database. Yeah.
How do you make the process of meeting somebody easy? Like at the end of the meeting, do you just have approach random people or?
Um, yeah, if I'm at a new event and I don't really know a lot of people, I'll just approach someone out of the blue and start talking to them if they're interesting. I'll keep talking to them and we'll make a connection. If not, I'll move on and find the next person. And
Okay.
yeah, but it's one of the things like some people thrive on that. They just get so much energy by meeting and talking to new people. For me, it's a bit of work.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So the other
Well,
thing is, with the way one other thing that I started doing was investing as a limited partner. So you look at an offering, you do your due diligence on the operators, maybe run your own numbers, underwriting. And then the first one I invested in was I read all the legal documents. I just wanted to know what I was getting into, what the legal docs were about, and that is so boring.
Yeah.
But it's good knowledge. It's good. It's good to have that information and understanding the inner workings of syndication. So that's another way to learn. But yeah.
Yeah. The first time I invested in a limited partnership capacity, I took all the documents and I went to the pet park. And I have a potbelly pig as a pet, so he was running
Oh,
around.
no way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And
Okay.
I read it. Yeah. So there's
What's
a
his
way to
name?
make it not so immensely boring by walking to the park.
Yeah, you're right. What's your pig's name?
Phil.
Bill?
Phil.
Phil.
Yeah. PHIL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he all right.
Yeah.
Not a dog or a cat, but you got a pig. Cool. Cool.
So you said you go to the synagogue. Would you not be able to pet my boy?
I can't eat him, but you know, so he's safe. So I can
Okay.
pet him. Yeah.
Um,
I don't keep kosher anyway, so that's okay.
yeah. So when it comes to the next section, by the way, this is a power acronym. People power other people's money, winning, enjoying, and reserve. So other people's money or resources. When it comes to, you mentioned going and having conversation with people. What's your approach like? Do you kind of meet somebody and do a slow uh, grill type thing? Like, hey, let's have lunch a few times before I ask you if you want to be a part of the fund, or do you go straight for the business?
Somewhere in between. I mean, you want to get to know the person on a personal level and find out what makes them tick and what they're about, and you know, find out who they are. And then I obviously have to ask some uncomfortable financial questions like, are you accredited? Do you have, funds to invest? That sort of thing. And then obviously have to educate them on the ins and outs of syndication and what it's all about, and what the benefits are and the risks. A lot of risks. Someone asked me once, so what are the risks? And I thought about it, and just, there's a lot of risks.
Yeah.
And you should be able to accept the fact that you might lose all your money.
Yeah.
Which would be really bad. That happened to somebody in Texas. I don't know if you've heard about this guy who had syndications, and he just did not manage them. They all went belly up, and all
Oh
his
yeah.
investors lost
He's
tons
not
of money.
returning any calls.
Yeah,
Oh gosh. Yeah, I read that article.
yeah,
What an atrocious man.
yeah, bad dude.
Yeah. And it's sad because those sorts of stories get pumped up to the top of the news, and then it makes everybody look bad that's raising capital. But we're
Yeah,
not, that's like 1% probably of all
yes,
raisers.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
so we covered two terms that would be good to define. Could you please define offering and accredited for especially beginners?
Sure. An offering is essentially it's like if you're buying a stock, you would get the prospectus, and the prospectus goes into great detail about the operations of the company and the finances and projections. The offering, or the offering memorandum, or some people call it a slide deck, is similar to that. It describes the project plan, the business plan, potential projected returns, not promised returns, because you can't promise any of this stuff. And it describes the operators involved, and obviously the product, the property, the development plan, whatever it is.
Targets
So,
and stuff.
yeah, right. Targets, the whole time. The fact that these things are illiquid is something to make folks aware of, because like a stock, you could sell it the next day if you're not happy with it. But in multifamily real estate, you're in it for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Usually 5 to 7 years, sometimes longer.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
for
and
accredited.
right. So there's accredited investors and sophisticated investors. And the SEC, I believe, describes an accredited investor as someone who makes $200,000 a year or more and anticipates making that for years to come, or 300 for a married couple, or someone who has a net worth of over $1 million, not
Mhm.
including their own home.
Yeah.
There's other definitions for
Hmm.
trusts and LLCs and stuff,
Yeah,
but
those are the simple
yeah,
baselines. And
those
then
are the
if
main
you're
ones.
non-accredited, you basically don't pass that criteria.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
so then you have to do your own vetting of your investor if they're not accredited, to make sure that they are sophisticated in enough to look at an offering to figure out if it's something that's worthwhile and makes sense to them.
Hmm.
So you have to teach them about syndications and inner workings and returns and tax implications and such.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see here. You also mentioned operator, which is also kind of another alternate term as GP or general partner. Basically, the guy kind of leading the fray on the active operations of it.
Yep. Yep. So you have this is a bunch of terms of your GP, and that's sort of the general partner, general term. You have your operators who are probably leading the asset management component, which is what happens after you close on the deal. You have to manage the managers that own an income property. So you're the asset management, and you might have 3 or 4 or 5 different properties at which you're an asset manager. And there's other roles like a KP or a sponsor, which folks are help sign on the loan to make sure that you have the right liquidity and net worth for a bank's
Yeah.
requirements.
KP is a key principle.
Yes.
Yeah. And all these terms you could also look up in investopedia.com if you ever are curious about it or feel overwhelmed about something. It's easy to look up this stuff. So don't get
Yes.
overwhelmed. Next one is winning. So I like to think of winning in a far different aspect than the usual person. I actually think learning from failure is a great part of winning. Um, but there may be great wins that you also just want to describe from your story, your investing history.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those would you like to share?
Oh, so it's easy. The first and only syndication I invested in that went full cycle closed about a little over a year ago. They held on to it for like 2 years and 9 months or something. I almost had a triple equity multiple on that deal.
Wow.
So I keep telling people, yeah, I was a genius. I was so smart. But this definitely beginner's luck, I guess, maybe on that one. And I did a lot of due diligence on that. I actually
Okay.
had friends of mine who lived in the area. I called them up and they drove by the property and
Hmm.
look. So
Okay. Yeah, it could also just be the experience of the operators too, right?
well,
Um,
that's a lot of it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a lot of it. And if they're buying in the right place, and if they're buying under the right conditions, and their business plan is solid, and their underwriting is solid, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of pieces
Yeah. The
to make it
first big
successful.
deal I was involved in, as an LP, like you just mentioned, I made 71% in about 4 years. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Like you, I was like, yes, I'm a genius too.
Yes. See, Mom, I can do this. You doubted me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
But the thing is, another benefit to passive investing, and I know a lot of people want to acquire stuff on their own, but there's a lot of risk involved. And the big benefit is you could learn from these folks that you invested in because especially put a lot of money into their bank account or a reserve account, escrow, whatever you want to call it. They're going to want to explain what's going on with the property to you. So how involved were you in terms of that deal and communications? And what did you learn from them?
The first deal, you mean?
Yeah, that one you made a triple, multiple.
Well, so, I've been doing real estate on the side for a long time. Um, and so I understood the asset management part of things. Um, so, we would get updates every quarter of the progress. I mean, it was pretty straightforward project as far as syndications go. They were going to come in, renovate a bunch of the units, increase the rents, reposition it is what they call it, and then sell it.
Hmm. Okay. And going into the next section here, enjoying. How do you enjoy the benefits of real estate investing, and why do you enjoy those things? I know you're enjoying that content, but I just wanted to personally invite you to the Commonwealth Affordable Housing Fund. If you want to passively earn while also building communities, doing philanthropy even, while getting quarterly distributions and even sharing in the exit about 5 years down the line, then please join us. This used to just be for friends and family, but you could join in now. You could be essentially earning through an expert, which is I, running the investment firm Commonwealth. So if you want to be a part of it and also get access to exclusive events where we go to in-progress construction and I show you how your money is being used actively and how the renovation was just complete and how this is going to help change people's lives, how we negotiate an acquisition. So you could be a part of those events throughout the year and also earn passively. So if you want to be a part of that, please click the link below and I'll let you back to your awesome content. Thanks.
I like watching the passive income hit my mailbox for sure. That's one thing. We have an Airbnb. Every time someone checks in, about a day later, I get an email. So much money has been deposited in your account. Yes, mailbox money. But the other part of it is as an asset management member of the team in Columbus, Ohio, we started having weekly meetings with the property managers, and I started seeing issues and concerns that I've seen myself before and had to deal with on my own as a property manager and owner myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I'm like, yeah, I've done this before. This is easy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not easy, but it takes experience and knowing how to navigate all that stuff.
Yeah, when we've managed so many renovations, especially like in a single family, smaller deals, we could anticipate greater. Like I like to
Mm-hmm.
also say, at this point, I could probably walk through a one-bedroom apartment and figure out the budget in probably 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
So it's always good to get your feet wet with smaller stuff, even if it's not directly just you, like maybe you have partner or partners, so you get an understanding of what renovations take.
Yep. Yep.
So you mentioned the out-of-state deal. So we could track back enjoying to people power a little bit in that you have a team over there. So you could enjoy your life and not have to fly down every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, so I joined up with some folks to purchase this 43 unit property in Columbus,
Mhm.
and uh, went to visit the property last March. Met the management team, walked around the property, found a couple of issues that need to be fixed, and so gave that list to the property management team. And one of the big things was I'm getting into the details here. They have these dumpsters and they have wooden enclosures for the dumpsters, sort of to hide the dumpster themselves, because trash can accumulate around a dumpster. And they had these doors, wooden doors, custom made. And I'm not saying made well, but they were one off. The hinges were failing and they were dragging on the ground.
Oh,
So I went to open up one of the doors, and all of a sudden, I felt nails sticking through on the other side.
oh,
Fortunately, I didn't cut myself, but I said, "Look, this is not safe. You
yeah.
gotta just get rid of the doors altogether. Don't worry about fixing them."
Huh.
And that had been a discussion point for a while, and up to that point, we hadn't really done anything. So
Oh, okay.
that was a big eye
Yeah.
opener. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God you didn't face a liability there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit. This. Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say the key members of your team are?
What would I say they are
Yeah.
on that project?
Or in general, so that if somebody is a beginner or intermediate, what do they need? And
Oh, okay,
what
okay, okay.
that's
Yeah, so you have a couple things. There's the asset manager team, and generally most people in the GP team are a member of that team. You have investor relations. All your investors want to know monthly or quarterly what the status of the property is, just a high level overview of occupancy and rents and rates and any issues that are cropping up. Um, and then there's the accounting side. At the end of the year, someone has to produce K1s. So we work with an accountant and give them the books, and they produce K1s for all the investors.
Mhm. Yeah. And the K1s are basically distribution payments that were made to the passive investors throughout the year.
Yes, it's similar to like a 1099, but different for real
Yeah.
estate. So
Mhm.
your tax preparer can take one of those and figure out how to include that in your taxes.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's get to the reserve section. This is the final section. Um, Reserve can be taken many different ways: financial, emotional, spiritual. Because when you transfer from hourly based work to effort based work, you got to have a reserve in many different capacities.
Yes.
Let me ask you about the more personal side. How did your wife get a little nervous when you decided to leave?
Yes. Yes, she did.
How did you mitigate those risks?
Uh, well, the first win that we talked about, the big one, I mean, that did a lot to mitigate her concerns.
Okay.
And basically, she's basically retired, and she's like, "What are you doing? I want you to retire too, so we can go play and do whatever."
Hmm.
And she's very risk averse, so it's hard to. I guess she's the biggest critic of mine, and so allaying any of her fears on any project is the biggest hurdle that I have.
Okay.
So maybe that's a good thing. But she and I are actually planning to go to Spain next month for 2 weeks. So that's another mental reserve, long overdue vacation for
Yeah.
us. And we're going to go to Barcelona. We're going to hike up in the Pyrenees, and
Okay.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, looking forward
There's
to it.
this phrase I heard years ago, and it is good that she's a critic because there's this one. It says, if you have two partners that always agree all the time, then one of them is not necessary.
I suppose.
Yeah. So it's good to have a balancing thing. It's similar to with my wife. She kind of balances me out and I, helps me to look objectively at the matter.
Mhm.
I'm much more of a do the thing and deal with the consequences later. And she's much more of a methodical, let's think about this very carefully and then do the thing.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit in between, I guess. My wife she just tries to find all of the things that could go wrong.
Yeah,
And what if this happens? What about that happens? So
yeah.
it's kind of good. Yeah.
A benefit to all sides.
Hmm.
How did you plan for the financial difference, a major financial difference?
So like I said, we have Airbnb properties. We have a duplex, and we have some funds from passive investments. So we're actually relying on those funds to support us.
Okay. Does
Yeah.
that mean you had to cut some expenses or you figured out how to live just about the same?
We've had to cut some expenses. We had a car die on us recently, so now we're
Oh,
down to one car. We'll probably have to get another car at some point, but right now we're making one car work.
okay. I'm always an advocate for Priuses, by the way. If you look at my social media, once a month,
Okay,
I'm saying buy a
not
Prius.
Tesla.
No, forget
No,
a Tesla. You could buy a Prius for like $4,000 and it'll last 5 years.
wow,
Yeah.
that's disposable
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah, interesting.
Easy. and
You
it's
know,
got 40 plus MPG,
yeah.
so the gas usage is laughable.
Hmm. I was looking at the Rivian trucks,
Oh, okay,
all electric. I think those are really cool.
they are.
Yeah, they're
What are they
expensive.
running now though? They're like what, $80,000?
Yeah, and up. Yes.
Come
Hmm.
on, bro. Come on. You know
I
you
know.
could buy like 3 houses for that sort of price.
I probably won't get one.
um, okay, so we got through some of those. Any other last financial tidbits or even emotional tidbits on, preparing your reserve? Because, investing could be emotionally cumbersome sometimes if a deal goes wrong, if you didn't raise enough capital. Like I know 5 months ago, I was just $50,000 away from finishing raising capital for this one deal that was a no-brainer.
Mm.
And yeah, they ended up pulling out last minute, so I couldn't close on it.
Oh,
Yeah, lost that earnest money.
right. You couldn't get like a short-term hard money private,
It's a very specific type of property, like
Yeah.
in between C and D class. So
Okay.
yeah, it was a specific raise on the equity side.
Um, I told you earlier, my dad built a bunch of houses and apartment buildings, and after he retired, later on, he said to me, Matt, I wish I held on to everything I ever owned. And if you think about it, and you manage it correctly, and eventually your residents pay down your mortgage, and you have a mortgage-free property, which can be a cash cow.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. I always have an eye towards thinking about the next project and how to make it sort of infinite returns, if you will, where you buy it, you renovate it, and then you refinance it and pull out the equity, and then you have infinite returns for your investors.
Okay.
So
Have you
that's
experienced like a kick in the face moment that you want to share and what you learned from it?
kick in the face moment. I don't know. I think the current project I'm in is pretty difficult. It's very challenging. We have to raise money for hotel construction in Bali,
Hmm.
and right now we're going through the syndication paperwork and trying to line up investors. Um, we have a lot of money to raise, and it's going to be a huge challenge.
Okay.
Um,
And so it's
I'm,
a timeline thing too, like
no, we're fortunate. We don't have a deadline, so we already have a
oh,
lease on the land in Bali.
okay.
We have built a villa as a sample property. We have infrastructure and permits, entitlements, and such. We're just ready to hit the ground running once we have enough money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
there's no debt on it either.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
The reason I bring up the timeline thing too, because that could be a stressful thing. Like you might not sleep at night. So what I would recommend if you're raising capital for a deal is try to always be in some sort of conversation or lunch with somebody that you could raise capital from, because you never know. Even somebody that works at a grocery store could be a investor,
mm,
um, even though they may not seem like it. And
yeah,
so having those conversations, months before, and just bringing it up, and even on your social media helps to bring the conversation when you get into, oh, I'm under contract now. Now I got to really raise this capital before time runs out.
yes. That's one of the things I don't do is keep my investors warm, as it were, to keep constantly touching them. I actually am. I do post quite a bit
Okay.
more than I guess. People actually come up to me and say, "Oh, Matt, I read your post or I got your email. That's so cool what you're doing. Awesome."
Okay. So you buy them blankets to keep them warm?
Right. You know what I mean. Yes.
One of those elementary little cheetah print
Yeah.
blankets. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm done with my corny jokes for today. Any
Okay.
last notes you want to share, and how people could reach out to you and what you're doing nowadays?
Yeah, I'd love to chat if you're interested in learning more about investing in multifamily or hotels. You can reach out to me at matt@redwingcap.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Matt Kontoff. I'm the only one there.
Okay, awesome. You own the market on your name. That's amazing.
I do. It's yeah, interesting story. My great grandfather changed his name, and so all the Kontoffs are related in the United States.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I don't
sweet.
think anybody's named their kid Matthew, as far as I
No,
know.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today, Matt. I hope you have an amazing and blessed week.
Thanks, Ivan. It's great to talk to you and meet you, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. I hope you got a lot of return on investment for your time today, and I encourage you to share it with other people so that they could also get returns with this valuable education to invest in real estate. We're also sharing this free education because we want to help people learn how to invest so that they could also create more affordable housing units. We have a great goal of creating 2.5 million affordable housing units by 2047, and free education like this is a big part of that. So by you sharing, you are a part of the equation to create those affordable housing units. So I can't wait to see the end of the road that we're going to achieve together. Have an amazing and blessed day.